This is Entrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart. With your host, Terry Levine. Listen every week as Terry tackles the topics that will help you become a successful heart-centered entrepreneur. Be sure to read the blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog. Come back often and add this show to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also follow Terry on Twitter at MentorTerry and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terry Levine. And now here's Terry.
Welcome back to Heartrepreneur Radio, Heartrepreneur TV. This is Terry Levine, Chief Heartrepreneur and Business Strategist, and I'm really glad to have you here today. So just take a moment and think about how you choose to create even your listening experience. Like in each moment, you want to know how you intend to feel in that moment. So as you're listening, as you're watching, even if you're reading the blog post, are you choosing to be present? Are you choosing to gain information that you can use and that can enhance your world? That's what we're here to do at Heartrepreneur Radio and TV. And again, thanks for joining us. And do remember that you can subscribe to the show. Don't miss any episodes. I always have guests that I'm so excited to learn from, and I'm sure you are also. All right, so today is no exception. I have with me James Purpura. He's the creator and CEO of the world's first personal evolution company, Powerful You, and that's the letter U, which I just love. Powerful You gives me goosebumps. An award-winning filmmaker, and he's also the co-author of Perception. Seeing is not believing. James, welcome here to Heartrepreneur Radio and TV.
Terry, I'm so glad to be here, and I just want you to know that I love the name of your show because, you know, one of the things I put in my book is, what if you're a heart that thinks it's what if you're a brain that thinks it's a heart?
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, when you think into that statement, what does that mean? And I really do think, you know, the heart is what's missing. It's the core of all of our, or at least it should be the core of all of our experiences.
And I couldn't agree with you more. You know, I think for many years, I was all in my head. It was all intellectual. And I don't know if school kind of led me down that or what. And then I had the shift about 20 something years ago, 25 really, to move more into my heart space. And my life has been so much more joyful, so much more peaceful, so much easier. Do you find that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because I think that, you know, as humans, we're constantly trying to figure it out. And we forget the most important thing, which is to actually live, right? And I think people like to muse about the present moment, but they don't spend any time there because, you know, one of the things, underlying principles around perception, it's an idea from your past that you're going to project into your future, right? And so, well, what does that dictate? That dictates that you're running out of program. And so what does it mean to live free, to be free, to feel free, to shine your light? That is being present in your heart space as you know, tackle the world and as you're, you know, so which means every moment is new, right? You haven't preconceived an idea or a concept or, you know, some version of the world that you're projecting or imposing on the world. You're working in the state of reality.
Yeah, I'm totally aligned. So how did you get to where you are with Powerful You, creating films, the book, Perception, Seeing is Not Believing? Like, what's your journey been, James?
You know, it's probably a lot more than what we have time for in your show, but the bottom line is our entire message is when I was in kindergarten, I had some massive abuse happen. And, you know, I had a pretty abusive childhood, and, you know, fast forward, you know, 30 years, I'm sitting in a jail cell. You know, I'm in a jail cell. I'm addicted to drugs, solitary confinement. And I decide when I'm in that cell that something has to change. And, you know, when I looked at all of my circumstances and all the bad things that ever happened to me, what I decided was the only common denominator between all those things was me. So it was probably me that had to change. But I didn't even know what change was, and I didn't even know who I was. And so when I referred to that programming earlier, you know, we adopt ideas that we think are true about ourselves, and we never are taught or learn to question those ideas. And so when you realize that you've been programmed from your past, then you can take control of that process and reprogram yourself to a more empowering, place in the world. And then when you get there, you can decide, well, do I need this programming now at all? And that's kind of been my journey.
I
And
love it.
so,
Thank you for sharing. Keep going. Very
yeah,
transparent.
from that jail cell, it took me about 9 years to become a millionaire, from walking out of that jail cell with a bunch of, just massive issues and things like that. And it wasn't about the money. It was what I had to become in order to create that level of success for myself. And, I say that because people are just so caught up in the, hey, well, if I can get what I need, I think, when you think about the fact that, I used to have this saying that sat over my dining room table, and it was, the key to having it all is realizing you already do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I love the Jim Carrey thing where he's like, I hope everybody gets everything they want, so they figure out it's not what they needed in the first place. They already had everything they needed.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. That was the biggest lesson. I'm so glad you shared. Like the biggest lesson that I got in my life, I kept trying to like get things, get ahead, get more material things, get a promotion, all of this. And honestly, when my mom died in 1996 of emphysema, and she was like literally my best friend on the planet, my girlfriend died a week later of breast cancer at the age 40. That was my wake up call that I didn't need anything external, that my life was about me realizing everything I have is within me. And from that minute on, literally everything changed. I mean, I got into the coaching and consulting space. I got into really helping other people in their personal journey. And I no longer kept looking for things to gratify me or satisfy me. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And, I want people to understand that it's okay to have things. And I actually like having money. And
Sure.
people ask me all the time, it's like, what's the difference? What is it like to have millions of dollars? And I'm like, I eat better. I stay at nicer hotels, but other than that, I mean, really nothing changes. But what you have to understand is you have to put the proper priority, and you have to be able to put in its place. So, there's one statistic that's really, really alarming that people don't seem to realize. And we wrote a chapter in our book, and it's called, money, 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 it's true. Meaning money can't buy happiness. And I never believed that. I always thought it was from fairy tale that rich people told the poor people to make them feel better about themselves. But, money just buys you more of what you already are. So if you don't like what you see in the mirror, you're going to see a lot more of that when you get to the other side and you figure out how to create that wealth that you desire so badly. And so what I would say is that, success, true success, is all about being and becoming, not about having and doing. And so, when you look in the mirror, the statistics that I referenced is, I can prove to you that money doesn't buy happiness. And this is shocking to some people, but they did a survey, a 10-year study on suicide. It was the most comprehensive study ever done. And there was only one common denominator thread between people who killed themselves and people who didn't. People with affluence and money killed themselves more often than people who were broke. And I always looked at that, and people go, well, I don't even understand that. And I'm like, well, it's simple. What if you pinned all of your hopes on being happy on this idea of having money? And when you get to the top of the mountain, that what you wanted so badly wasn't actually there. And I always say, so poor people still live with the illusion that money's going to buy happiness. So, I mean, it's just alarming.
Yeah, that's great. I love what you just shared, because a lot of people address this topic not that powerfully. I love that. So, all right, we're on your journey. How does Powerful You come about? By the way, I love the name. Like every piece of that resonates with me so much. How did that?
Yeah, so there's so many double entendres in you. It's a magnet. It's a us. It stands for us. It stands for you as an individual. And the name comes from this. I looked out into the personal development space, and I saw that everybody was saying, follow me. And let me tell you, people, as soon as you hear somebody say, follow me, I've got all the answers, you should start running in the opposite direction. Do not follow that person, right? And so, it's about you, right? It's all about you. It's about you finding the best version of yourself. And so you could be a place of learning. It could be the personification of whatever you find inside of yourself. But Essentially what happened was, like I said, it took me 9 years to get to our first $1 million. And then when we got there, I looked at my wife and I said, "Are you happy?" She said, "No." And I said, "Me either." And I said, "Well, I guess we better figure out what creates happiness then, right?" And so what we found is that creating happiness and creating wealth are two sides to the same coin that you call perception. Creating happiness is about changing your perception of your inside world. Creating wealth is about changing your perception of the outside world. And most oftentimes we do those in different steps when they can actually be done all at the same time. And so at the end of my journey, when I was sitting in that jail cell, I said, well, if I ever figure out the answers, I promise I'll share them with others. And that's where Powerful You was born. My wife and I sold our worldwide technology company a couple of years back. And we said, all right, let's take these principles and share them with others. And that's what the movie is about. That's what the book is about. It's not a book that's going to tell you what to do. It's a book that's going to teach you the tools you need to shape and change the narrative of who you think you are.
So what do you mean by, I'm so curious, like when I saw this, I'm like, I have to find out. Perception. Seeing is not believing. What does that mean?
So, your whole life you hear this terminology and it's like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. But actually the science of perception is actually the opposite. And so I ask people all the time, can you have the thing you want most in the world sitting right in front of your face and you just not see it? And so what do you think the answer to that is?
Well, I think most people don't realize that, but the truth is yes.
Right. And so I tell them a really simple story to prove it, right? And I'm like, I want you to picture a man. This man wants anything to be loved. He wants to be in a relationship, except he's got really, really low self-esteem. One day this man walks into a store and he walks up to the counter and the girl behind the counter starts flirting with him. My question for you is, does he recognize the girl's flirting with him?
Great.
Right. And everybody always answers the same way. Probably not. Or no. Right.
I was going to say probably not.
Right. And so I think people think this is a cute story, but it is actually what represents life. And the question you have to ask yourself is, if this guy can have the thing that he wants the most sitting right in front of him, or at least the opportunity to get it, and he can't see it, what if that's happening to you? And the answer is, based on the laws of perception, it has to be happening to you, or you would already have it. Once you sense your intention for something, the opportunity for those things starts showing up. And so I think we talk about the law of attraction a lot, and people like to think about this magical force that pulls in these wonderful things, and we just sit and meditate and checks show up in the mail. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Great.
You're like, well, how does it work? I'm like, actually, it's a lot simpler than that, right? Because when you set your intention for something and you start, really trying to meditate on it, what you're doing is you're trying to foster belief. And once you foster belief, you will see the opportunities that are already there presenting themselves to you. And what I would say is, if you think about the guy in the store, I ask you, well, why didn't you see it? Well, you said he had low self-esteem. So a belief that he has inside of him is impacting the world he sees outside of him. And that's what people don't understand, is that based on perception, we're imposing a narrative on the world rather than working with what's already there. And so when you shift and change your beliefs, different stuff becomes available. If I would have told the story of guy had great self-esteem, you'd have said, absolutely, he sees it. And so the underlying bottom line of perception is that you will not, I'll believe it when I see it. No, you'll only see it when you believe it, because here's the part that everybody misses. And this is the most important thing. And if people take this away from it, anything from away from this, I would take this away from it. What you believe on the inside is being projected on the outside. So if you're running around trying to fix outside circumstances to get the things that you want, you're working in the wrong direction, right? Perception dictates that what you believe on the inside is what's on the outside. And so I tell people all the time, if your life is not what you want it to be, it's not because you've done anything wrong. It's because you're doing the best you can with the information that you have available to you. But in truth, life is nothing more than an information problem, right? It's that you have to shape and change what you to believe to be more empowering, because you are in the world of perception, the sum total of your beliefs. Now there's something beyond that, but that's time for, we can't even pick that up in this podcast.
You've summed that up really well. And I'm so aligned, because, people come to me for business advice And the first thing they want to do is give me the strategies, give me the techniques. I want to earn 7 figures. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to work on the inner game, which is what I call it, because we've got to change your beliefs and your perception before you can make the kind of money you want. And they're always shocked. And they're like, yeah, but I need opportunities. I'm like, oh, the opportunities are there.
They're already there. You just can't see them.
That's exactly it. Oh, this is beautiful. I love this name, perception. Seeing is not believing. It's really powerful. I do want to ask you, and we'll come back to this in a little bit, but how do people best either get in touch with you, follow you, get the book? You know, I just love who you are and what you're sharing.
Powerful-the-letter-u.com. You can get the book. You can watch the movie. The movie's winning awards all over the world. And I mean, listen, you know, this is not some $5 million weekend retreat in the hills of Vermont. This is a $12 book and movie that will shape and change your life. Not because I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you why you should do it, right? I'm going to give you the information you need to be your own guru and change your own life. You don't need me. You need the information, right? Because it's an information problem.
And I agree with that. I find it fascinating that so many people, and you've kind of touched on this, keep looking outside themselves for the answer. If we use the word, I love it, guru. Where's the guru that I should turn to? And they hire one guru after the next guru. And in truth, I found for myself that working on myself and really understanding how to do that is what allowed me to have my own transformation, evolution, and not a Band-Aid. It wasn't like, oh, go say these affirmations and get some crystals and sit on a mountaintop. It literally was me taking a look at what is it that I need to do inside? What's the inner work? And, you know, fascinatingly enough, once I did the inner work, I lost weight. I got more peaceful. I had better relationships, better quality. And that is when I went to earn my first $1 million. I'm sure that would resonate with you. Yes?
Absolutely. Here's what people don't get, right? Is that there is no actual surprises in life, right? What you see on the outside is a direct reflection of what you feel and believe on the inside. And it can't be any other way. I tell people all the time, you know, entrepreneurs, I'm like, look, I can look at your bank accounts and I can tell you what you believe about money. I can look at your physical well-being and I can tell you what you believe about health. I can look at, like, there is no mystery. When things get out of alignment, they always move back into alignment. So you might be able to fool the universe for a second and fake it, but all that stuff's going to go away. If you do not change, people got to think about it this way. What is your life? It is an outward projection of an inward thing. So if you think about it like a movie theater or a video game, right? It's your beliefs are being projected on the screen of the world, and that's what you're interacting with. And so if you wouldn't go to a movie and say this movie sucks and walk up to the screen and start slapping the screen to try to change what's going on the screen. You would go back to the projector and you would put a different film on it, right? And that's literally what people are doing when they're working on the outside, trying to change outside circumstances to meet their thing. This is an entrepreneur show, so I'm going to share with you what I share with all entrepreneurs.
Awesome, thank you.
When an entrepreneur comes to me and says, what's the secret to launching a new business? And this is what I tell them. I want you to sit down and I want you to map out in very real circumstances everything it takes to go from where you are to the success that you desire. And it has to be in very real scenarios, you know, that are believable. And it's like, so if you were going from 1 to 100, you wouldn't go 10 plus 10 plus 10. You'd go 1 plus 4 plus 8 plus 6 plus, you know, until you got to 100. And then once you've mapped it out completely, I need you to throw all that work away. And they're like, what? Why would I do that? And I said, because the only reason you're mapping it out is to foster belief that you can't do it, because your body will not let you do something that you inherently don't believe you can do. It's just a waste of resources. So if you don't believe it, you're never going to achieve it. So the first thing you have to do is foster belief, but you throw the work away because it's never going to work out that way. And every time you go to compare your current state as you're moving towards the things that you desire to the map that you built, when you look at the map and those things don't match, you'll believe that you're failing when you have no idea what it's going to take to succeed. And so you start trying to shove that which your experience into what you think your experience should be, creating resistance and slowing the whole process down instead of working with the flow of what is, right? And so when you work with what is, rather than trying to make the world into what you think it should be or what success looks like, then you're in the flow of consciousness and you're in the flow of creation. You're no longer, trying to roll boulders up hills. And, that was my whole career for a long time, was I was rolling giant boulders uphill. And I can tell you, you can do that and you can get to the top of the hill, but when you get there, you're going to be exhausted and everybody's going to hate you. So, because you're dragging people with you, right?
Very true. I love this. I like the idea of sort of plotting it all out. And then when you said throw it away, first I was like, what? And then I totally got it. I really resonate with that. The other thing that you shared is changing the movie, right? Don't go beat up the screen, change the movie. It fascinates me. I talk about this quite a bit. And people who are making $1 million or beyond think differently than people who are making $50,000 or $100,000 or $500,000. And in my view, for me, it's been a mindset. It's been me literally, like you said, changing the movie. When I started to think differently and feel differently, the money just started to flow in, and it came in such a way that it was easy, effortless, joyful, and fun. I was no longer pushing and shoving and, yes, dragging people along with me. So I love that. Can you tell people one more time where to connect with you for $12? Is that what you said? I mean, we'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's $12, right?
Yeah.
$12 to change your life. What I would say is it's powerful-u.com. We do have an app in the App Store. It's called The Powerful Universe. You can watch and buy the movie on that on any device, any TV device, any phone device. Just type in Powerful You to your device creator or this app store that you subscribe to and get the Powerful Universe app. It's a really cool looking app, and we have a lot of content in there, but you can buy and watch the movie there. You can rent the movie there, I think, maybe. I don't know if we still have it for rent, but it's an investment in yourself. And the last thing, I think it's really important for people to understand is the problem with going and getting directions is that you become dependent on directions, right? Get the map, memorize the map, know the map, and you can find your way anywhere, and that's about being, and, kids resonate with video games, and it's like, well, what about fear? And what I would say is think about a video game, right? That your fears are being projected on the screen, and that's what you're interacting with. Right? And so as soon as you change the programming, the fears go away. And so now what was once real becomes a nightmare, and what was once a nightmare becomes a dream. And you can move in and change your life, but you have to walk up the ladder, and there are no shortcuts to the top. You have to completely change all of the thoughts and feelings. And, it takes time, but once, like you said, once it starts popping, everybody around you is like, what are you doing? Like, why are you so, they always like to say, you were so lucky, Terry. And you're like,
all the time.
Lucky? Luck? You know how much work I put in? You just happened to be here when the rain had started falling. I've been dancing for rain for years. Now that the rain's falling, everybody's like, you're so lucky it's raining, Terry.
So true. You have been not only a wealth of information and knowledge, but you've explained things with such clarity. I'm so honored that you were here today. I do recommend that people check out Powerful You. I'm going to get the app. I love apps, the Powerful Universe. I'm going to watch the movie. 100% I'm going to read the book. And you know what? I was just searching for a book. Every quarter, I send my client family members a tool, a tip, a resource. Now I know what they're getting. So thank you. You are just a wonderful guest, and you've created so much value. Thank you for being here at Entrepreneur Radio and TV.
Terry, thank you for sharing your light with the world. We need more light. The light cannot go away. It has to stay.
Thank you, James. And then for the listeners, the viewers, we have a really exciting, very different community of entrepreneurs. So if you're on Facebook, go over to Entrepreneurs with Terry Levine. It's a Facebook group, and it is where entrepreneurs, heart-based businesses like you and me, become hyper profitable service businesses. And we do it from the inside out. So if anything we talked about today resonates, and you want to be connected with more people shining their light, you want to get to know people better, you want to be in service, be in community, share your expertise, come and join us, introduce yourself, because we need more people like you and Heartrepreneurs do business together. Once again, thanks for tuning in here at Heartrepreneur Radio and TV. And make sure that you also share the show, right? If you got value, I got so much value from James, I literally have a whole page of notes, then I recommend that you share. That's what we do. We pass it forward, we share. Thanks again for joining in here today. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
You've been listening to Heartrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart, with your host, Terry Levine. This show is produced every week for your enjoyment and education. To make sure you never miss a single show, add us to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also read Terry's latest blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog, or follow Terry on Twitter at MentorTerry, and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terry Levine. Your questions and comments are always welcome and appreciated. Send them to Terry on either Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for listening.